The one who spares the rod hates their child, but the one who loves their child is careful to discipline them. Proverbs 13:24, a verse likely familiar to anyone who knows the Bible, but knowing and applying it are two entirely different things. Why do I say that? Because this truth revealed itself in the life of a father obsessed with this scripture. A man who claimed to love his son so much that he raised him with relentless beatings and extreme violence. And from there, the seed of a future monster quietly took root. A hotel designed for murder, that child was Herman Muggett. Born in 1861 in the town of Gilmanton, New Hampshire, United States, he was a smart and quick-witted boy. But years of horrific abuse at the hands of his father caused him to withdraw and turn into a timid, reserved child. On top of that, after witnessing his best friend Tom fall to his death from the second floor of an abandoned building while they were playing, Herman became even more isolated and detached from the world around him. After that, an incident occurred that would become a major turning point in Herman's life. A group of older students at his school called Herman to the hospital office while the doctor was away. They kicked him down, dragged him into a corner, then placed a human skeleton model from the hospital on top of him before running off, leaving the terrified boy crying for help. But a little while later, something unexpected happened. Herman suddenly found himself drawn to the skeleton model with its round skull and long limbs. His fear gave way to curiosity, and he began to wonder how the skeletal structures of other creatures might differ. From that strange experience, Herman developed a fascination with anatomy at the age of 17. Herman married Clara Lovering in 1882. Herman passed his medical studies, and after just 2 years, he was able to graduate. However, during those same 2 years, the future butcher revealed a horrifying interest. Because university tuition was too expensive, Herman committed fraud by taking out a life insurance policy under the name of a fictional person, then finding a corpse and pretending it was the insured person in order to collect the insurance money. At that time, society was full of dead bodies, so finding a corpse wasn't difficult at all. Because of this, Clara left him. After that, Herman packed his belongings and traveled alone to Muir Fork, New York. While there, he was suspected of being connected to the disappearance of a young boy. Before the police could act, Herman quickly moved to the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, carrying his pharmacist's degree. Herman went from place to place, first working as a stock clerk at a hospital in Pennsylvania, then moving on to work at a local pharmacy. In 1886, after a young boy died from drinking medicine bought at his shop, Herman fled to the state of Chicago under the fake name Henry Howard Holmes. By hiding his true identity, he was able to blend in. As a child, he had shown himself to be cheerful and friendly, which helped him earn the trust and sympathy of those around him. Although he had not yet divorced Clara, he married and had a child with Myrta Belknap. When Clara found out, she accused him of adultery, which made their divorce proceedings extremely difficult to resolve. Henry lived in an upscale neighborhood in Chicago and began working as an assistant to a pharmacist named Holton at a local drugstore. One day, less than a year after Henry and Holton had been working together at the pharmacy, Holton suddenly disappeared. During the police investigation, Henry casually explained, "Oh, Miss Holton? A few days ago she left, said she was going back to her hometown, but she hasn't returned since. This pharmacy belonged to Miss Holton, but now that the owner's gone, well, for the time being, I, the assistant, have no choice but to run it myself, right?" At that point, the police grew suspicious of Henry after hearing such vague and careless statements, but they couldn't arrest him without solid evidence. After a year of doing business, Henry bought a plot of land, built a 2-story building, and opened a pharmacy along with various utility shops on the first floor. The second floor was turned into a hotel, which he named the Castle. He secretly had an affair with Julia Smythe, a woman who was already married with a child. When Julia's husband found out, he stormed off and abandoned her, left to raise her daughter alone. Julia still continued seeing Henry. Then on Christmas Eve of 1891, Both Julia and her daughter mysteriously disappeared. The following year, Henry added a third floor to the building, expanding the Castle Hotel. In May 1892, Henry hired Emmeline Sigrun to work as a receptionist. By December of that same year, she suddenly vanished without a trace. Henry then invited a washed-up actress named Minnie Williams to take her place. On May 1, 1893, the World's Columbian Exposition officially opened in Chicago, and Henry's hotel quickly became a popular lodging spot for visitors staying overnight. On October 30, 1893, the fair came to an end, and by then, 50 people had mysteriously gone missing. The washed-up actress Minnie also vanished without a trace. Although from the outside, it looked like an ordinary commercial building, the castle was in fact a hotel built for murder, designed with chilling precision. Let's take a look inside. The castle he built starting from the third floor. In one of the rooms on the left side, you'll see a staff member, possibly a janitor, cleaning the floor. But right next door, a woman appears to be held captive. She's trying desperately to open the door in another room, one where no entrance or exit could be seen no matter how hard you looked. A woman was being held captive nearby, in a cramped space that could only be accessed through a narrow passage from the attic on the second floor. The body of a man lay on its side. In the next room over, a woman was taking a bath completely unaware of what was happening around her on the second floor. In one of the rooms on the left side, an unidentified person was lying on a table, their entire body wrapped in bandages and covered in blood. Also on this floor, there was a narrow room inside. A woman was falling, having dropped through the floor of a room on the third floor. In the room next door, a woman is in despair. Trapped inside, another woman appears to be suffocating, her hands clutching her neck, writhing in pain on the floor. Elsewhere on the second floor, people are going about different activities. One person is reading a book, another is packing their luggage, someone is sitting on a chair, writing something down, while another is sitting with their knees pulled to their chest, as if crying. Among these rooms, each filled with everyday moments, there's one room where Henry is quietly emerging through a secret passage that stretches all the way from the basement to the second floor. He had just murdered a man on the first floor, an area used for various convenience services. A barber was cutting a man's hair, and in the room next door, a lady and a child were buying medicine at the pharmacy. In a nearby secret passage, a man was found dead, hanging by the neck. Finally, let's take a look at Henry's laboratory in the basement. On the left, there appears to be an incinerator. Below it, a large pit extends even deeper underground. It seems to have been used as a method for disposing of bodies. In the center, there are iron bars used to cage victims. The bodies of those killed by Henry were piled up there. On the right side of the basement, there's an operating table surrounded by surgical tools meant for dissecting bodies. In a large container nearby, several human skulls are stacked on top of each other. In the far corner, a woman appears to still be alive, but her hands and feet are tightly bound with rope. The ends of the ropes are tied to a wooden wheel, and it looks as though if the wheel were turned, her limbs would be violently pulled apart. The rooms inside this hotel were soundproofed, isolating the victims' cries from the outside world. Tiny pipes ran through the ceilings, used to pump poisonous gas or sedatives into the rooms to silently kill the occupants. The hotel was also equipped with a sophisticated alarm system that would notify Henry whenever someone unauthorized entered restricted areas. Henry, the man who created his own murder hotel, is estimated to have killed around 50 people throughout his life. So why did he build a murder hotel? On May 1, 1893, the day the World Columbian Exposition opened in Chicago, tourists flooded the city, causing a shortage of accommodations. Even Henry's hotel was fully booked. At this time, having long been suspected of insurance fraud, he needed a new way to make money, and with his cunning mind, he used the same method he had used on previous victims. But this time, with a plan, he renovated the hotel and turned it into a murder hotel. after killing the guests who stayed at the castle. Henry sold some of the bodies as specimens to hospitals and universities to make a profit. It's said that because it was so difficult to obtain quality cadavers at hospitals and universities at the time, no one asked any questions of Henry, who had become a primary supplier. The remaining bodies were used by him for anatomical research in the vaulted basement of the castle building. Did the construction engineers of this strangely designed hotel ever suspect anything? Henry had already thought of that. The castle was divided into multiple construction phases, and different contractors were hired one after another, so only Henry had the complete blueprint of the entire building. That way, he avoided suspicion. And just like that, Henry carried out his scheme without a hitch. No guest targeted by Henry ever made it out of that hotel alive. However, evil deeds never go unnoticed. Over the course of nearly 3 years, dozens of guests at the castle mysteriously disappeared. In 1895, police identified Henry as a suspect and began to monitor him. As their investigation unfolded, they discovered a man named Benjamin Freeland Petezel, who was suspected to be Henry's accomplice. But before they could question him, Petezel suddenly died. Police gathered enough evidence to conclude that Henry had killed Petezel to destroy the evidence. Based on that, they obtained a warrant and searched the castle building. On November 17, 1894, Henry was arrested in Boston, in the hotel in Chicago that he owned. The police found the basement full of bones. They discovered the watch and jewelry of the washed-up actress Minnie inside the building, the cremated hip bone of the daughter Julia, along with a blood-stained piece of her dress. As the police investigated the entire hotel in detail, more and more secret passages were uncovered, while countless skeletal remains, murder weapons, and traces of corpse disposal were found, causing a huge shock across the United States. The trial of the murderous hotel owner. At the trial, Henry confessed to being a murderer and admitted to committing 27 murders and 9 attempted murders. However, the police estimated that he had killed at least 50 people. In the end, Henry was sentenced to death and was executed by hanging. His infamous Castle Murder Hotel was demolished in 1938. In its place, the government built a new post office, hoping to erase the gruesome legacy left behind by that depraved killer. Yet to this day, the story of Henry remains one of the most infamous and chilling cases in American history, remembered as the tale of the nation's first known serial killer. The murder castle where he committed his crimes was infamously known as the Castle of Death. A very ridiculous thing is that this man, who killed countless people, out of fear that others would seek revenge by digging him up and dissecting him as he did to his victims, requested that when he died, his coffin be wrapped in cement and buried 10 meters deep underground. And the court accepted his request. But perhaps heaven has eyes. Those present at the execution said that on Henry's execution day, the executioner made a mistake, causing the gallows to break. As a result, Henry, more precisely, Herman, had to suffer pain for 15 minutes before finally dying. Those he killed may have found some peace, or perhaps never could, before the evil crimes he committed. Today's video ends here. Thank you all for watching until the very end. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.